Welcome to my channel Commerce with Vikas sir. Today we are going to learn the meaning and features of promissory note. We have already discussed the meaning, features and different items related to bills of exchange. Now, what is promissory note? That is very important. See, when a seller sells goods to buyer on credit, usually the seller draws a bill on buyer, and that is bills of exchange. But promissory note is something different. Promissory note is drawn by the buyer, promising the seller that he will be paying the required amount on the due date. So, promissory note is defined under Section 4 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. This is very important. It is defined under Section 4 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So, the document or instrument in writing prepared by the buyer of goods, that is debtors, himself, sign it and give it to the seller of the goods, that is creditor, to pay a certain sum of money is known as promissory note. So, unlike bills of exchange, here the note is prepared by the buyer himself, ensuring the seller that he will pay the amount definitely on a certain date. So it is a guarantee given by the buyer to the seller that the buyer will be paying the amount for the goods supplied to the seller on the due date. So this is what is called promissory note. So it is prepared by the debtor who is supposed to make the payment. So it is just opposite the bills of exchange. And let us discuss what are the features of promissory note. So some features are common to that of the bills of exchange. Number one important features is it must be in writing. So it cannot be an oral. The guarantee or the promise must be in writing. Number two, the promise must be unconditional. This feature was applicable in case of bills of exchange also. The promise must be unconditional. The buyer should not impose condition while drawing or making the promissory note. Third, it does not require acceptance. It is drawn by the buyer, signed it and sent to the seller. The seller does not need to accept it. So it doesn't require acceptance. In case of bills of exchange, if it is not accepted the drawee, then it will become dishonored by non-acceptance. That is not applicable in case of promissory note. Okay, it does not require acceptance from the seller. Next, it has to be signed by the maker. Who is a maker? Maker is the buyer who promises to pay, so the debtor. So promissory note is signed by the debtor, not by the creditor. It is signed by the debtor, promising to pay a certain amount to the creditor. Next, the name of the payee also remains mentioned in it. Payee means the person to whom the amount is payable. Payee means the person to whom the amount is payable. So that is very important. So to whom the amount mentioned in the note is payable, that is also mentioned in the promissory note. And lastly, the note cannot be paid to bearer. In case of bills of exchange, it can be paid to anyone who possesses the bill on the due date. That is a bearer, but cannot be paid to the bearer. That is, it cannot be transferred to any other person, promissory note. The person whose name has been mentioned in the note, he is only eligible to get payment. So it cannot be paid to bearer. Any other person holding the promissory note will not be paid on the due date. So this is all about the promissory note. So we'll also discuss the difference between promissory note and bills of exchange. That is also very important. So number one difference is bills of exchange is defined under section 5 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, whereas promissory note is defined under section 4 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So section 4 deals with bills of exchange, whereas section 5 deals with bills of exchange, whereas section 4 deals with promissory note. Number 2, there are three parties involved in case of bills of exchange. So there are three parties involved in case of bills of exchange: the drawer, drawee, and the payee. We have already studied. But in case of promissory note, only two parties are involved. One is the maker and the other is the payee. Who is the maker? Maker is the buyer. And who is the payee? The person whom the bill is payable. So payee is usually the seller to whom the bill notice or the amount is payable. So there are three parties involved in bills of exchange: the drawer, drawee, and the payee. Whereas in case of promissory note, only two parties are involved: the maker, the debtor, and the payee, the creditor. Number three, bills of exchange is an order to pay a definite amount of money. When the seller sells goods to the seller orders the buyer to pay a definite amount of money after a definite period of time. So seller is ordering the buyer to make payment, but in case of promissory note, it is a promise made by the buyer to the seller to pay the required to that he will pay the required amount on the due date. So bills of exchange is an order to pay a definite amount of money, whereas promissory note is uh, it is not an order, it is a promise to pay. Sorry, it is a typing mistake. It is not an order, it is a promise to pay. It is a, I'm correcting it, it is a promise to pay a definite amount of money on the due date. So again, I would like to explain: bills of exchange is an order to pay a definite amount of money, whereas promissory note is an promise to pay a definite amount of money. Next is it is a promise to pay a definite amount of money. Little bit mistake, I'm sorry for that. Next is when bill of exchange is drawn by the buyer upon seller, drawn by the seller upon buyer, then the buyer has to accept it. Otherwise, it will become dishonored. So the drawee of the bill must accept the bill of exchange. But in case of promissory note, the acceptance of the seller is not required. Okay, the bills of exchange required acceptance from the drawee, but promissory note does not require acceptance from the seller. So bills of exchange, the drawee must the creditor makes or draws the bill. Who draws the bills of exchange? The creditors or maker draws the bill, whereas the debtor draws the promissory note. So in case of bills of exchange, drawer is the seller, but in case of promissory note, the drawer is the debtor. So in case of bills of exchange, the drawer draws the bill, whereas in case of promissory note, the buyer draws the note. And lastly, if the bills of exchange is dishonored, then many parties may be involved in it, like bank may be involved when it is discounted, or maybe the in case of negotiations, endorsee is there, so it may affect the endorsee also. So whenever the bills of exchange is dishonored, legal notice must be served to all the parties, whereas in case of promissory note, no such notice is necessary. Are you getting? No such notice is necessary in case of promissory note. So I hope you have understood all this. So because of lack of time, I'm not editing any videos. So if any errors have been crept in, then please try to message me, you may comment, you are free to comment, and please subscribe my channel. And I would like to tell you one thing, that is from tomorrow onwards I will be uploading my videos every day at 7 p.m. So I'm giving you the fixed time, so get ready for my videos. Every day I will upload one video on class 11. Sometimes it may be account, sometimes it may be economics or BSTD also. I will be dealing with that, but every day I will be uploading at 7 p.m. Okay, so inform your friend about my timing. Please help me so that I can help you a lot. Help me to increase my subscriber. Help me by sending feedback. Help me by writing comments, so that I can come with more and more videos that may be useful to you. You may copy all the notes. See, I have given every notes in detail, so it is very easy for you to prepare notes. So you don't have to prepare, you just need to copy notes, so that appears on the screen. So if it is not clear on the screen, then I will upload the load note on the description given in the YouTube. So you may see the description to copy notes. Thank you.